welcome to the special edition of Talk Time. My guest today is the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Mr. Conrad Sangma, also the National President of the National People's Party, an extremely busy man these days battling COVID for the fourth month in a row. Mr. Conrad Sangma, once again, welcome to Note His Life. My question is, 4 months of battling COVID, you must have learned quite a few lessons already.
Yes, absolutely. And this is true not just for Meghalaya state, but I think for the country as a whole and the world as a whole. COVID-19 is a kind of a disease and an enemy which really cannot be seen sometimes. Most people don't show any symptoms. So I think it makes it even more difficult for us to battle it and face it. So therefore, but I think as this situation unfolds and as we face different circumstances, situations, we need to adapt and we need to learn. And I think that's what's happening in most of the states in the country.
Right. You see, you are now talking about something which you say the need for micromanagement. You are talking about micromanagement now. My question is, what is this micromanagement in part of your current strategy? Would you like to elaborate a little bit? What do you mean by it?
You see, when we are battling with COVID-19, you must have noticed throughout the country and throughout the world that many cases come up, and sometimes it's in a particular city, particular town, sometimes it's in a particular locality.
Yeah.
And in those situations, what happens is, as a knee-jerk reaction, we end up just closing down everything. Now, can we do that? Can we continue just closing everything down because maybe one family or one locality or one city or town is affected? I think we can't, because we need to learn to adapt, and this is the new norm now. So therefore, keeping that particular aspect in mind, we need a balance between ensuring that there's safety and ensuring that normalcy continues. So that is a real challenge. And I think the only way to really face this and really fight against this is two-pronged. One is obviously behavioral change, which we've been talking about a lot, that every individual must become a COVID warrior, and you must take responsibility for yourself and for others. That's number one. But number two, as an administration and as a government, we will need to ensure that there's a quick response and there's a micromanaged system if an outbreak takes place in a particular locality or a village or a town. And without affecting other parts of the state and other parts of the town, how can we ensure that the virus doesn't spread from the cluster where the outbreak could have taken place? So I think micromanagement will allow us to do that. We will be able to have a quick response system, and more importantly, ensure that the lockdown that happens is restricted to that individual, the family, or the particular locality or the particular town. So that micromanagement will be required in this kind of a scenario.
Right. Now you see, is there any indication of a community spread in Meghalaya? And if not, how has the Meghalaya authorities been able to prevent a community spread? What is it actually?
Well, as of now, there is no community spread in the state of Meghalaya. We, in fact, have been able to contain the virus and spread the virus to a large extent throughout the state. Yes, there have been large clusters that have come out. For example, we have the BSF cluster, we have the Armed Forces cluster, then we have different small clusters, like in Kanapara, we had some cases coming up, the marriage cluster we had. So what's happening is wherever we are seeing the numbers go up, it is happening in a particular group or a particular section. So therefore, we can contain it and make sure that it doesn't spread into the community. So this is what we have seen in Meghalaya. And to a large extent, we have been successful in containing it and not allowing it to spread to the community. But again, the situation is, we keep saying that we always need to be alert. We cannot let our guards down. And we need to ensure that we have a quick response system so that in the future, we can continue ensuring that doesn't go into the community.
Now, talking about the marriage stuff, a lot of people are now saying that it was an absolutely, irresponsible act by all those 40-odd people who attended the wedding. Now, question is, there has been an FIR which has been lodged. Is it symbolic? Are the authorities going to allow the law to take its own course?
Absolutely. We will allow the law to take its own course. Those people who have broken the law will take its own course and action will be taken against those people who broke the law. I would like to add here that this kind of situations and scenarios are also very important learning
Right.
phases for, I think, so society as a whole. And the message that we need to get from here also is that government will do its part, and which we are doing to the best of our ability. But I think this is a fight where we need to all come together. So it is not just the government, but it has to be the society and people and the citizens, and we all need to do our part and we all need to act responsibly. Therefore, I think even at an individual level, it is very, very crucial and important that individuals take responsibility for this and ensure that they do their part and be responsible in following the protocols of the government. Now we can see from this example that because of a group of 41 people, it caused a great stress to many people in the state and even the government as a whole.
Right.
And I think this
Now,
could have been
now
totally
you see,
avoidable.
do you agree that health infrastructure in Meghalaya, or for that matter, why only Meghalaya? But since you are representing Meghalaya, I'm talking about Meghalaya. Do you now agree that the health infrastructure in Meghalaya is rather poor? And what are you doing to, remove this scenario, change this scenario for the better?
Yeah, I think the health infrastructure has been something of a concern, not just now, but for a very, very long time, I should say. And it's not just in our state, it's throughout the country.
Yeah.
But having said that, obviously, it's our responsibility to do what we can for our state. And I'm happy to inform you through your channel and the people of the state that we are going for a very, very big exercise to upgrade and to build up the infrastructure in all the rural area, PHCs, CHCs and sub-centers. So we will see a large amount of investment that will be made to improve the buildings and the infrastructure, at the same time the equipments, the manpower. All these areas are something that has come to an forefront because of the COVID, but it's not something, as I said, that is new. We all knew about it, but because of the situation now, it is even more important that the overall health infrastructure should be improved. And I think this should be done not just in my state, but I think throughout the country.
Have you been able to quantify the expenditure which is likely to be incurred in this field in Meghalaya?
Yes, we have been working on this, and within the next couple of years itself, almost about 200 crores plus will be required to improve the infrastructure in the existing PHCs, CHCs and sub-centers. So we are working on it, and the work will start in that from this financial year itself.
Okay, now even in the middle of all this, the opposition in Meghalaya seems to be trying to politicize the tackling of COVID. What do you have to say on that?
I think that's not entirely true because we had a meeting with the opposition, and the Honorable Speaker had called a meeting to discuss and to have a detailed presentation on how the state is combating this particular situation in the COVID-19. And this is the third meeting, in fact, we are having in a row along with the opposition, and this is all because of the initiative taken by the Honorable Speaker. So even in this meeting, when we had given the presentation of what the state has done, we saw a very positive response from the opposition. The opposition, in fact, appreciated the work and was satisfied with the work that is going on and the steps being taken by the government. So there could be one or two individuals who might say things at a personal level, but I think the opposition as a whole and all the political leaders, in fact, of the state are working unitedly, keeping this issue in front of us.
Good to hear that, Mr. Conrad Sangma. But as far as the economy, now, to what extent do you think the economy in Meghalaya has been hit because of this COVID situation, the lockdown, etc.?
See, economy has been hit everywhere, so we are no different. But coming specifically to our state, we have seen a big hit in terms of the state's revenues going down. We have seen the central share of taxes also going down. So that affects the overall revenue structure for our state.
Yeah.
So government spending is affected. At the same time, we are seeing that the tourism sector has taken a big hit, and it caters to a large number of youth and people who are employed in this sector, and of course the allied sectors along with that. So tourism has seen a big hit. We have also seen agriculture to a large extent being affected. So all these areas and sectors are areas which are affected, but I'm sure that slowly and steadily we will be able to come back to normalcy. We may be hit in this financial year and we may not be able to achieve the kind of targets that we had initially projected for ourselves. But I think keeping in mind that normalcy to a large extent in terms of economic activities is coming back, we should see some recovery, but I think it will take some time.
On that note, we go for a short break, but don't go away. I am in conversation with Meghalaya Chief Minister, Mr. Conrad Sangma. Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma on COVID, politics, and lots more. Now, looking back, Mr. Conrad Sangma, do you think lockdown is the best idea? Do you think lockdown is not a good idea? What is your take on lockdown, after all, to deal with COVID?
You see, lockdown is something like a speed breaker. You see, it can slow things down for us. It can allow and give us the time to somewhat prepare ourselves or take necessary steps to maybe contain the situation. But it is not a solution in itself. So therefore, it has to be, as I said, a very broad strategy which we need to adopt. So as I said, lockdown has helped us because it has slowed down the spread. It has given the time to the governments and the administration to take precautionary measures and society to also kind of accept the new norm. But I think it is more than that. It will require more efforts than that. It will require people to understand that we need to adapt to the new norm and behavioral change needs to come in. It will also allow, as I said, for us to take steps and come up with economic policies to fight the economic slowdown. It will allow the entrepreneurs and business people to make the changes which they need to make in their business. But as I said, it's not a solution in itself. It will just simply give us the time to maybe take steps to really protect ourselves and figure out how we're going to change and adapt to the system.
Absolutely. Now, another very, very important issue that I want to draw your attention is that COVID has led to a huge mental health issue. Absolutely. How is the scene in Meghalaya, and are you doing anything about how to tackle this aspect of the problem?
Yes, I think you're very right. A lot of people don't sometimes realize that it's not sometimes the virus as itself, because a lot of the people are actually asymptomatic. But it is really the mental stress that one goes through, especially when you're in isolation and especially when you have to spend 14 days in quarantine. And sometimes it's not possible to give the best facilities to everyone. It's a huge challenge. And that is really what is going to be in the future something that we need to look at. I'll give an example of myself, that when I had come back from Delhi and I had to quarantine and remain in my house, in my room, I could feel it, and it was stressful and it was depressing to some extent. I'm not saying I was depressed, but I could feel and I could relate to what people could have gone through, especially when they had to be in isolation in different wards or different quarantine centers of the government. So yes, it's a challenge. From the government side, we realized this at an early stage also, and that is the reason why we give continuous counseling to people. In fact, one of the very positive things I feel we did was, apart from having the database of all the people who were tested, all the people who were quarantined, all the people who tested positive, we ensured that regular phone calls were made to them. We ensured that people from the medical department and other volunteers visited them, gave them pep talks, told them that this is for their own good. And I think that to some extent has helped. More has to be done. But I think it's important to connect and communicate with them. They should not be left alone. They should not be made to feel that they are being sidelined, but they should be made to feel that, yes, they need to do this quarantine for their safety. But we as a government and a society and family and all are with them. And I think that's very
Now,
important.
a little bit, slight deviation from COVID, a little bit on politics in the region. You see, the NPP went whole hog against Chief Minister Biren Singh. All the four MLAs resigned in Manipur. Then you intervened. And, now what is the position now? Is it status quo? Have, everything has been restored? Have the portfolios been given back to Joy Kumar Singh, the Deputy Chief Minister, very senior leader of your party?
Yes, in fact, I'll be very, very frank that the issues in Manipur have been there for quite some time. And in fact, the portfolios of the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Joy Kumarji, was taken quite some time back. And that is only one of the issues that we faced. Apart from that, there have been a lot of difficulties when it came to the way of functioning at the Chief Minister's level in Manipur. And a lot of the ministers within the BJP and the NPP also had a lot of concerns about this. And this information was made known to the central leadership of the BJP. And we were hoping that some action would be taken. But suddenly when we saw that three ministers or three MLAs of the BJP resigned, I think that triggered the entire exodus at that point. And it led to my ministers also resigning at that point and submitting their resignation to as ministers to the Honorable Governor. But we realized, and we in fact, when Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma and myself had a discussion, and we also discussed with the leadership in the BJP at the central level, we discussed on what are the issues that are there, concerns that are there. I was given the assurance by the BJP leadership that they will look into all those concerns, but a stability must be there, and the entire spirit of the NEDA should be there, and we should try and run this government. Problems will come, but it will be our duty to resolve it together. So once we got that kind of assurance, we went as a team and we spoke to the four MLAs of the NPP in Manipur, and we were able to convince them that yes, there had been problems, but we need to figure out as leaders how we will resolve them. We need to also realize that this is a difficult time for the people of Manipur and the country with COVID happening. And I think instability is the last thing we require in the state at this point in time. So with all these factors and ensuring that, again, the status quo would be returned back and different kind of adjustments would be made to the working system. And after getting assurance from the central leadership of the BJP, we were able to bring back things to normal. And I'm happy to see that now things are normal out there.
Yeah, now you are saying that things are normal, but is it at the level of the assurance, or are the grievances being fulfilled? My straight question, has Joy Kumar Singh been given back his portfolios? Is he the Deputy Chief Minister or not today?
Yes, he is the Deputy Chief Minister as we speak, and his finance portfolio has been restored. There were other discussions and other details that were there, which will not be appropriate for me to mention right now on this interview. But of course, there were a lot of concerns that were raised by the other MLAs and the other ministers also. So I think it's an issue that obviously cannot be resolved in a day or in one night. Right. But I think the intention and the process has started, and the intention is very clear and very strong. And I'm sure that within a given period, we will see that these issues one by one are resolved, and we'll be hoping that we will see a much stronger and better government that works together as a proper team will be there in Manipur.
I'm coming to the end of this discussion. Mr. Conrad Sangma, elections in Assam are coming next year, about 9 months from now. Will the NPP field candidates in Assam? Are you thinking about fielding candidates here?
Yes, absolutely. I think we have been very clear in our agenda and our strategy that we are a party that is working towards ensuring that we provide a platform, especially a voice for the Northeast. And I think it is important that political presence in terms of having elected representatives is absolutely mandatory to be able to achieve that. So we did contest elections in almost all the states which had election in the Northeast, including Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya. Some states we got success and we were able to win some seats. Some states we did not. But that does not bring our spirits down. We know that we have an agenda and we have a vision to move forward. And definitely Assam election also will be very important for us. Our state unit has already started working, and we have started identifying constituencies and talking to different leaders from different regions. And we're very hopeful that we will be able to contest this coming election in Assam in a very successful manner.
That is very interesting. NPP contesting elections in Assam, why not? But my question will it be a pre-poll alliance, or will the NPP be on its own?
That's a situation that we have not decided yet. But in most cases, I'm telling you, whether it was Meghalaya, Manipur, or in Nagaland, we contested elections on our own. There was no pre-poll alliance. But every election is different, so it would not be appropriate for me to say anything at this point in time. But I can tell you that in the past, we have always fought the election on our own.
My final question, I need a little bit of prediction from you. What will be the new normal as far as politics is concerned in the Northeast? Why Northeast, for that matter, the country?
New norm in what sense? I'm sorry, I'm not getting your question.
No, my question is in view of COVID, people staying indoors, virtual public rallies. What will be the new normal as far as politics is concerned? What do you predict?
Yes, it's going to be very, very difficult because politics and election is about connecting with people. It's about being able to speak to them. It's about being able to shake their hand. And like my late father used to say, politics and election is about smile and handshake. And I think if we can't do that, I don't know really how we'll be able to connect. So I think technology will play a very important role. I think it'll be very important to have a one-to-one connect. And I think in different ways, social media will also play a very important role. So I think we'll need to adapt to that, and we'll have to see how it goes. It's a very difficult situation for political leaders and party at this point in time. I think Bihar election and West Bengal election will be interesting elections to watch how that happens. But it's going to be very difficult for any political party or leader to connect with the people for the election.
Sooner than later, Mr. Conrad Sangma, I will seek some more time from you. And we're not going to discuss any COVID. We're not going to discuss any politics. We'd like to hear some songs from you and some music from you, some heavy metal from you for the benefit of the viewers. At least, you are a political leader. You govern. You also need to entertain people at times.
Well, it's not really entertainment, but yes, we sometimes have our own hobbies, and I think I don't think those hobbies should take any backseat just because we're in politics.
Yes.
Everybody's a human being at the end of the day. So
yes,
Wasbir, I think for that you'll need to get a special time and a special appointment, and definitely we'll have a more relaxed time.
I will take it as an assurance. On that note, Mr. Conrad Sangma, once again, thank you so much for speaking to me on Talk Time.
Thank you, Wasbir. Thank you so much.